TikTok right now, so here we are. And I'm getting on YouTube as well. How's everybody's night going? Ask her stop, dude. Give me 1 second. I'm about to, hey, Abby. I'm about to have to kick this dog out here in a second. How are all of y'all? I'm going live right now on YouTube as well, so let me get some people there. You're gonna have to leave, buddy. No, I have never been. TikTok is just very inconsistent, and this is it's a normal shirt tonight, dude. You gotta stop. It is a normal shirt tonight. Hold on, let me deal with him real quick. I will be right back. If you can't chill here, let me give you a blanket. If you can't be chill, you don't get to stay. All right, dude. Here's a blanket. Lay down. Be chill. So a few things to talk about tonight. Yeah. So, anyways, let me finish that story. Basically, I did a video earlier that Tizient did as well, bringing out these 3 girls in Pennsylvania who were, and there's actually the video is here on Instagram as well, but being incredibly racist. So I did a video calling it out, talking about how you need to, have your children, teach them better, teach them that racism is not okay, blah, blah, and TikTok took it down. It was very similar to Tizient's video, and Tizient's did not get taken down, which I'm glad because it's spreading awareness. But then I appealed it. They denied the appeal. So F them. That's kind of where I'm at tonight. So anyway, so I told TikTok yesterday that I was going to be exclusively here for the next few days. I'm still posting videos on TikTok. But as y'all, I'm sure have seen, I'm posting a good bit today because there were some updates in the Koberger case as well. And then there was the one story about the 14-year-old girl who took her own life due to bullying. So anyways, those are kind of some of the things that we've chatted about. But again, I'm trying to grow my Instagram following as well as my YouTube following. So why not come on here? The other thing that I will let y'all know is I know that we normally watch Banfield. So we're going to try that on Insta as well. But before Banfield, Brian Entin was on Cuomo hosting it because I guess Cuomo is on his way to Ukraine. So I actually recorded that because it sounded very interesting. So you get your very first troll on TikTok. Congrats. It's a rite of passage. Anyway, so I'm just very frustrated with them, the inconsistencies and whatnot, and I'm trying to grow here. So we have a few things that we can talk about, although it's like, this is weird because I've got 25 here and I've got 33 here, and I'm not used, and I'm grateful for every one of y'all that are here. But I'm used to it being much higher, so it's just so much more chill right now. So anyways, talk to me about what questions you have before we start this. I will get everything queued up, but before we do, what questions do you guys have for tonight before we get started, or what do y'all want to talk about tonight before we get started with our streaming? Just let me know. Yeah, the bullying video broke my heart too. Absolutely. That's something that hits very home to me. Oh, Jessica, if that comment is still there, please tag me in it. And I will make him have a very bad day. That's what I will do. So please let me know. Anyway, so before I do, Instagram's being kind of quiet. I think more people are jumping over to YouTube. So, but yeah, before it gets taken down, and I'll try to snag it. So, if YouTube drops much lower, I'll probably just head off of it and go straight to YouTube. Just so y'all know, if y'all want to follow me there or watch what we're going to be doing tonight here. I have not seen the release of Dylan's statement. Let me take a look at that. I did not get that update. Oh, the one that we watched last night? That one? Is that what you're talking about? Hey, Weirdbeard. I like your name. Let me Google this real quick because I've not seen this yet. Oh, from she was scared to death. I need to reread this because it was a few days ago. Oh, the one we talked about yesterday through News Nation. Gotcha. Okay. I did not see that, Lars. Thank you, Noel. I appreciate that. That's what I try to do. I try to condense basically, an hour-long program or a long article in less. I ideally like to condense it in less than 60 seconds because that's about my time frame. But if I have to, I can do it in under 3 minutes. So the latest thing on Idaho, I did a video about this too, as well as posted several. Okay, so for those of y'all on Instagram, you probably know this. For those of y'all on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter, most of y'all probably know this too. When I find out about like a new court document or something that's just a document that I think is important, or a picture, or whatever the case is, that's not necessarily worthy of just like, let me throw this up as a picture right now. I do that exclusively on Instagram because, it's kind of set up for that. So all the court documents, thank you, Jessica. So all the court documents that have come out recently are on my Instagram, and I uploaded several today. And that's how we found out today, actually, that Kaylee Gonzalez's family are potential witnesses, because that was in the Latah County, William Thompson's prosecutor's affidavit. So, yes, there was another high altitude unidentified flying object, is what it's called. Do not think of something celestial or from out of this world, but over Alaska, yes, that did happen today. I did not watch any Murdoch. I have to rely on Emmy to keep me caught up at this point. So yeah, but we will talk about Murdoch. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff on Banfield and News Nation tonight. I also know that on News Nation tonight, there's also going to be, they're going to be talking about this girl who killed herself after being viciously and brutally bullied. And it's so sad because, the thing is, if for anybody who remembers being that age, it seems like that's your whole world and nothing's ever going to change. And, I remember being in that position as well. I was relentlessly bullied, but I was bullied pre-2000. So, I at least had the benefit of not having to go home and then continue to be bullied on the internet like they do now. So anyways, my point is that I think they're going to be talking about that now, because it's really quite a shame. They beat her very, very, they hit her with the face with a water bottle, got her to the ground, started kicking her and punching her, laughing at her. People were cheering these 4 girls that ganged up on her and beat her up. And then several days later, and if you look at the video, you saw the bruises, you saw her face. Just, what is this dog bark? This dog is so weird. So it's just, they then sent her several days later photos of her making fun of her for bleeding on the floor and just for the whole situation. And a few hours later, she killed herself. Hey, Emily. Yeah, this is my first live ever on Instagram. So I'm at TikTok right now. So here I am. I'm also on YouTube. So we are going to probably start streaming here soon. Did they get arrested? Great question. I did not see that yet, Judy. So they did not. I don't know if they did not get arrested, but I know that they got charged with, I think, 3rd-degree assault. And one of them, let me pull up exactly what happened. Hold on, because I don't want to get this wrong for y'all. Her viewing was today. I know that. And I will say this. So they did hold a moment of silence around the school's flagpole, and then students held a rally outside of the school where dozens of students protested what they called a pattern of bullying and a lack of effort to address it. And then we can get into, I posted what the superintendent said, what his statement was, which was really, I think, cold-hearted, really cold-hearted. Let me see what they got. I'll come back. We can come back to that, talk to that later. I'm trying to find what they, I know that they all got charges against them, these girls. Give me a second. Let me check this other article real quick. I know that 3, like I said, I know that one of them got like, I forget what the other 4th one got. Okay, here we go. 3 girls were charged with 3rd-degree felony assault, and a 4th was charged with disorderly conduct. That's what they got. So anyways, very, very bad situation. Yeah. So yeah. Well, we can talk about that afterwards. So because that's definitely an issue. So anyways, well, we were talking about the girl who, so Brian Entin, we're going to start with Cuomo tonight because Brian Entin is actually going to be hosting Cuomo. And there's some stuff that I know he's going to be talking about that is something that I really want to show. So let me, and then we can do Banfield after that. So I'm going to go in here real quick and we can get this started. So the reason we're going to do Cuomo, by the way, is Brian Entin is hosting because Chris Cuomo is on the way to, I think his name Chris, right? Yeah. Anyway, it's on his way. He's on his way to Ukraine. So anyway, so we'll play this if y'all who want to. If Instagram gets too much lower, I'll end the live there and we'll just go straight to YouTube. I'll flip y'all over first though. Alexa, turn off theater. And we'll do this and then we can talk about everything that's happened tonight. Talk about Idaho, talk about the situation. I think there might have been an Anna Walsh update today, and then of course Murdoch. So let's get this started. And then we'll do Banfield afterwards.
Natural goodness. New chapter. Wellness well done.
Something to think about while you're watching Sunday's Super Bowl. Some of the most important people.
Chris is on his way to Ukraine, and he will be doing his show live direct from Ukraine on Monday. And I have the honor of holding down the fort tonight for the next hour. Very, very excited. Big shoes to fill. Dusty is in the control room. If you watch the show, you know Dusty. So I know if I get off track or anything, Dusty's going to be right there to help me out. Make sure I don't screw this up, Dusty.
We got you, but Leland just called you Brian Entin.
I did hear that.
But what's with that?
I'm friends with Leland, though, so I'm going to give him a pass.
So you're going to take care of that. I don't have to take care of that?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll take care of that. Anyway, you're going to do great, and I'll see you back here because we're doing calls for all your crime sleuths out there.
Awesome.
Because you cleaned up so nice, too.
Oh my God. I'm used to being outside. I'm in the AC.
We're used to seeing you, like, in the freezing cold, but in a crime scene.
Someone did my makeup. This is, like, unbelievable. Okay.
All right, I'll let you get on with it. We'll see you later.
I'm excited for the calls. Like some of you, one of my favorite parts of the show, always when I watch, is when the viewers call in. So if you want to talk to me about any of the cases I've covered here at News Nation, it is time to have your say, as they call it on Cuomo, and call 844-968-7720. But to get serious now, tonight we start with some breaking news. The Pentagon announced today that a fighter jet shot down a high-altitude object over the waters of Alaska at the order of President Biden. Now, it's not clear yet if the object was a balloon, but U.S. officials said the object was traveling at 40,000 feet, and at that speed, it's a potential threat to civilian aircraft. We're told that it was about the size of a small car, so different from that balloon that they confirmed came from China. We're going to keep you posted throughout the show. If there's any new information about the object, what it is, where it came from, we'll let you know if we find out in the next hour. But this was interesting. During that press conference at the Pentagon, when they talked about that, my colleague Kelly Meyer asked about another very big story this week, the arrest of my friend, News Nation reporter Evan Lambert, who was arrested and shoved by a National Guardsman while he was doing his job covering a press conference about a train derailment with chemicals in Ohio. You've seen the video by now. It's been all over. Well, there's new body cam video that showed the National Guard major pushing Evan. And we're going to show you the video a couple times. Listen to what the Pentagon said just today about all of this.
Do you, as a spokesperson for the Department of Defense, condone such conduct by a commissioned officer of the U.S. military against an American journalist?
Yeah, so let me be clear. The answer is no. That's not acceptable behavior. The Secretary of Defense, the Department of Defense absolutely supports, strongly supports a free and independent press.
That was my colleague Kelly Meyer asking that question at the Pentagon briefing today. And really, this has just been an odd week at News Nation because we became the story in many ways. And trust me, no good reporter wants to become the story, ever. It just never feels right. And it happened this week. And the more we learn and the more we see, again, perhaps I'm biased. I'm friends with Evan. He's a colleague. You be the judge. The video is enraging to a lot of us. Evan is at the back of the gymnasium doing his report when he's asked to stop because the governor started speaking, and he stopped. And that is when things really just got crazy. In the body cam video, you see Ohio National Guard Major General Harris pointing his finger at Evan, and the major is clearly mad. And that's okay. It happens. People get mad at us out in the field. This is where things turned. The major general put his hands right below Evan's neck and put his finger in Evan's face. And it is so intense, and you see it in the video, that the state trooper has to keep the National Guard major away from Evan. You see there, basically holding him back. A National Guard major. And in the statement to police, he had to give a statement to police, the major, because all this happened. He said that Evan lurched at him. That seems pretty clear that the National Guard major was the one upset and escalating things based on this video. And today we asked him if he wanted to clarify his statement, the statement he gave police. But the National Guard said there is no change to the major's statement. Evan, meanwhile, is charged with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct, and that's a big deal. He spent hours in jail. He was arrested. He was in jail until almost midnight that night. And he's actually got a court date that he has to go to later this month because the charges are there. They haven't been dropped. And honestly, this story hit me because I do what Evan does every single day. And I can't tell you how many times I've done it, reported from the back of a press conference. It's a totally normal thing that happens all the time. All reporters do it. And it is totally unbelievable that the National Guard major did that and that the police essentially tackled Evan and arrested him out in the hallway after all of this went down. The governor called it out as wrong. The governor of Ohio said it right away. The Pentagon today has now called it out as wrong, but the charges remain tonight. Now, I'm not the guy who hates on the police or the military. If you followed me for a while, you know that. Throughout my career, I've always had enormous respect for our men and women in uniform. 99% of them are incredible at what they do. And some of my best friends are cops, and my stepbrother just joined the Army. So I am not a hater when it comes to these things, but something is wrong in this specific instance. And hopefully police in Ohio and the National Guard will try to make things right. It was interesting in that gym, on the side of the wall where all this went down, we noticed in the background, it says, be safe, be kind, be responsible. You see it there. And you know, we can only just hope that everyone involved in this can try to be a little kinder, safer, and a little more responsible. And I'm just glad that I got to say that and filling in tonight. I wanted to address it because I've been watching all of this go down all week long. And I think it's important that we stand up for each other and our colleagues when things like this happen. And if you think that story got me mad, and it did, and I've been mad about it all week, we're gonna move to something else. This primetime exclusive we have with the family of a teen who was bullied and then killed herself. This is beyond enraging, and it is just heartbreaking. A day does not go by where we don't hear of another story about bullying. But bullying today, it's not the bullying of yesteryear when we were kids. It's become both physical, mental torture, made worse by social media and taunting. And in some cases, as with 14-year-old Adriana Cush, it actually can be deadly. Last week, Adriana was bullied and beaten at her school in New Jersey. 2 days later, she committed suicide after a video of that beating was posted online. It was all over social media, and it is hard to watch. It is hard to listen to, especially if you have kids in school, but it's important to watch the video, and we want to show it to you. It's awful to look at. Adriana's public viewing took place only moments ago, and tonight in an exclusive primetime interview, we have Adriana's family speaking out. Her brother Jacob and her sister-in-law Jennifer join me now, close by where the viewing just ended. Thank you so much for being here. I can't imagine what you're going through right now. I'm so sorry. I know the viewing just ended, but I know it's important for you guys to speak out. We want to get the word out about this. The video is hard to watch. There were 4 students charged today. I want to start with you, Jacob. What do you want to see happen here, Jacob?
I think the situation is devastating. I would like to see the school administration take action. They didn't take action at the beginning of this. They dragged their feet. They only punished one of the girls on day 1. I've seen various stories where they said all 4 girls were suspended on that first day. They were not. Only 1 girl was suspended. The other 3 girls just got to go back to class. And then later after that, Adriana went home and she just was getting bullied online. Their parents didn't take away their phones. The initial girl got suspended. Her phone wasn't taken away. I think it's devastating how they were allowed to continue on. And I think the superintendent should resign for his comments. We just buried her and he is online making all these claims. I would really like to see him resign because we just buried her and he is online trying to defend his actions.
Yeah, I understand. And for anyone who's been following this story closely like we have, it's been very strange watching the district's response. I mean, yes, we can talk about charges today, but this in some ways has gone ignored. I mean, these students weren't even suspended. A lot of it did not make sense when you look at the video. Jennifer, I want to ask you, I mean, who were these girls in the video, these bullies? Did she know them?
Yeah, so the girls that actually did attack her, they were supposed to be, well, when Adriana FaceTimed me the day she got jumped, she was telling me how they were actually supposed to be like really cool and they were supposed to be friends with each other. And then she got to the school and the Ayana girl, the one that was recording, she never ever liked Adriana for a while. And she always had a problem with Adriana. And she never liked her the way we saw her. And so she was the one that was telling her friends, you should fight her, you should fight her, you should jump her.
Jacob, I want to go back to you because we talked about the school district response. We've heard from your dad that, so I want to understand it correctly. He heard about what happened and immediately went to the school. What was the response from the administrators when he got there?
So when he got there, the administration told him that Adriana was, when he first walked in the door, there was another parent there who said, "What did my child do?" So he just assumed that Adriana got in a fight. The school had told my father that Adriana got in a fight. The girl you see in the video, she was trying to break it up, which was a lie. Jason, Adriana's boyfriend, was trying to break up the fight. He was trying to break up the fight, but the bigger girl was pushing him back. She was also recording.
Yeah.
And the school administration, they lied about that. They didn't call the police. They didn't call an ambulance. Adriana blacked out. So Dad had to take her to the police station to file reports. She was all bloody. And the administration didn't do anything.
I mean, beyond just the administration, though, I watched the video over and over again. Like, where are the teachers? I think at one point it looks like maybe there's a teacher in a doorway, but did no one intervene?
So yeah, we've seen that. Someone pointed it out to us when we were watching the video, how a teacher walked out of her classroom, seeing what was going on, and then you could see in the video that she went back in the classroom, and then the fight continued on for another 20, 25 seconds. The teachers came from somewhere down the hall to break up that fight.
Jennifer,
Sorry,
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
When we had a meeting with the superintendent's office, they said those classrooms were empty. So it leads us to believe they didn't do any investigation.
My gosh. Jennifer, I want to ask you, because one unfortunate thing with stories like this that we cover is the video becomes the story and what happened to Adriana becomes what everybody knows, and this was a person who had a life. Can you tell us a little bit about her? I mean, beyond just this bullying incident, so we can get a feel for who she was.
Oh, she was great. She was how I can't say it on camera because obviously I don't want to curse on camera, but to me she was like our little Spitfire. She was stubborn, she was so funny. She always wanted to be getting in a fight with Jacob or her other brothers, and she talked how she wanted to be a tattoo artist in the future, and in the beginning I didn't believe her, and because you would think, what college are you going to? And now I wish I could see that. Sorry.
No, I understand, and I'm so sorry.
She was so amazing. She was just so amazing. That's all I can say.
I am so sorry for what you both are going through and your entire family. And I can promise you we'll stay on the story. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. Yes, there's charges now.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the school response and what led up to this, we're going to stay on it. Jacob and Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, joining me now is Diane Grossman. Diane's 12-year-old daughter, Mallory, committed suicide 5 years ago after she too was bullied, both at school and online. Very similar, sadly. Diane is a fearless advocate who pushed for years to get New Jersey's anti-bullying laws changed, and last year, Mallory's law was finally passed. And Diane joins me now. I mean, I saw you watching this. It's heartbreaking. I mean, these folks just came out of the viewing and they wanted to do this because the story needs to get out. This has been happening for so long. It happened to your daughter.
It's so familiar, Adriana's case and everything that I see and read about. I first learned about it through Jennifer's post. She shared the details of her sister. And as I read it, there were so many similarities. I've heard children die by suicide since Mallory, but this one struck a nerve with me. I see Mallory in Adriana, and to be honest, it broke me. It just brought up so many raw emotions, and we have a crisis in this country. I think that they're speaking out because they know what's going on in our school systems. It's a broken system. Parents don't have a voice. They are lied to. They are yesed to death. And our children are suffering. Our children are solving their own problems with death.
Let me tell you this, whenever I cover a story with a school district, and it's been all over the country, it could be a school shooting or a bullying incident, they try to cover their ASS so fast.
Of course.
It's like a business.
Right.
It's like a machine. The lawyers
the school
come
system,
out.
It is a business. Like if you look at it, it really is a business. You put money in, there's leadership, and it is a business. So of course they're going to CYA. But at the end of the day, our children are there. We trust our children in that building for 8-9 hours. Many parents don't have a choice to send their children to private school. So we rely on a system that we have no voice in.
Let me ask you about this lawsuit, because this is still ongoing for you.
Yes.
Where do things stand with you in your fight against the school?
So COVID gave us a big hiccup, and so we've been paused for a little bit, but we did hear just recently that the judge has granted us a hearing, and we should be going to court sometime this year, hopefully sometime in the spring. So, I really feel strongly that we're finally going to get some justice for Mallory.
I think the social media just ramps things up. These videos go viral so quickly.
It's gang-like behavior.
Yeah, and it's like the kids are already dealing with it. And then imagine the video goes everywhere, how that must make you feel. Quickly, tell me about Mallory's Law, because this is incredible what you're doing.
So, it's a first base hit, and that's what we call it. We need federal legislation, we need state legislation, but Mallory's Law requires the school to create a system that forces parents to report the behavior correctly. You can't just pick up the phone and say, by the way, this is what happened. So Mallory's Law creates a ticket system, and it also is time stamped so that the school is on notice. In New Jersey, they have 10 days to do an investigation. this law forces them to follow through with that. It also puts procedures in place that if the parents don't follow through with what they're supposed to be doing, they can receive fines. I want federal legislation and, of course, bigger laws, especially when it comes to cyberbullying, because there's a cross-pollination of behavior. You know, 2 kids can be bullied at 2 different schools because of the cyber abuse.
I mean, we could go on forever when it comes to the cyber, the algorithms. I mean, how do these videos go viral so quickly? It's terrible. Thank you so much, Diane. I mean, I hate that you're in this situation, but if anyone can handle it, I'm just knowing you now, you're a fighter.
Yeah.
So
I hope so.
appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on tonight. Coming up, did Alex Murdaugh's only surviving son really flip the bird in the courtroom? I mean, this one just gets crazier and crazier every day. And could bombshell testimony claiming Alex tried to clean up the crime scene be just what the prosecution was hoping for? We've got the lawyers. They're weighing in next this Friday night.
Yes, this is Cuomo. Brian Entin is filling in.
Beat apartment 2A, 2B.
The Murdaugh trial, Buster Murdaugh, Alex's surviving son, seen possibly flipping the bird to a key witness against his dad. I mean, this just gets crazier and crazier. And Murdaugh's sister was also caught trying to pass a note to Alec. A huge no-no in a courtroom, not supposed to do it. The family has been warned by the judge that they will be thrown out of the courthouse if this keeps up. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's bring in the criminal lawyers, trial attorney Sarah Azari, lawyer Eric Bland, and high-profile trial attorney Mark Garrigo. So thank you all for being here. I watch you guys all the time on Cuomo, so I'm excited to talk to you. Eric, I'll start with you. I've actually talked with Eric outside the courthouse because I've been in South Carolina covering the trial. I mean, what do you make of this? Buster, you know, allegedly putting the middle finger up? I mean, it just seems like it gets crazier and crazier.
Yes, thanks for having me on, Brian. What we're seeing is pressure is starting to break some pipes. The past 2 days, 3 days really, have been some pretty powerful testimony from some pretty powerful people. Alex has been really done in by people that are closest to him, whether that's Ryan Crosby. Today it was Blanca Simpson, his former house worker. Yesterday it was his best friend, Chris Wilson, his paralegal, Annette Griswold. But I think the most powerful testimony actually was by my client, Tony Satterfield, yesterday. You know, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan said you're entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts. And a lot of people popped off last week that Tony wasn't going to be a relevant witness because he supposedly didn't have any communications with Alex that preceded the murder. Well, unfortunately, facts are stubborn things. And there were text messages that were initiated by Alex Murdaugh a month and a half before the murders directly to Tony Satterfield, where he said, "Hey, Bo, give me a call. Want to talk to you about your case." The only problem, Brian, was Alex had stolen all the money, $3.45 million of the $4.3 million 2 years before, and he signed a dismissal of the case in October.
Yeah, and
it became very.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to get to the
relevant testimony.
You brought up Tony Satterfield. It was sad too to watch. I mean, just as a reporter, it's one of the sadder parts of the trial that I've seen. I want to play a clip since you brought it up, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Did the defendant ever tell you that he also had a $5 million umbrella policy?
No. Did he ever tell you that there had been a recovery against that? No. Did he ever tell you that there had been a recovery for $3.8 million against that? No. Did he ever pay you 1 penny of $3.8 million? No.
All right, I want to bring in Sarah now, because you've had an issue with this witness. Again, I've been watching you guys talk about this every night. I mean, it was powerful, though. Again, just as someone watching, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but, you know, it certainly made me think that Murdaugh is not such a good guy.
Yeah, look, to be clear, I don't have a problem with this witness at all. I think he is the only victim. He's the most sympathetic witness, and it's the most egregious theft by Murdaugh because It shows who he was stealing from and how he was stealing. Really, really bad and really good for the prosecution on the motive pressure side.
Okay.
The problem is, if you don't know that you're owed money and you're not demanding it, there's no demand, there's no pressure. And to the extent that Eric's saying there was this pre-murder communication, which would go to motive, Satterfield made clear in his testimony that he was not aware that he was owed that money. And that is why this is probably the judge's worst ruling in this case.
But how
to
would you know
admit
if
this
you didn't
testimony.
know?
Well,
I mean,
hold on, let me please
exactly.
speak, Eric. Thank you. So when you're deciding whether evidence comes in from motive versus character, the event has to take place before the murders, not after. At the time that he had communications with Alec Murdaugh, he was not aware that this money was stolen, the settlement money had come in. So that doesn't go to motive, it's pure character evidence, and it was absolute error to admit this evidence. I feel terrible for Tony Satterfield. I feel that it's compelling testimony, but it's still inadmissible.
I feel like I want to take you and Eric out
May I
to drink
speak, Brian?
together. Yeah, you can. I feel like we all need to
Brian.
have a drink because you guys get at it every night, and then I see it on Twitter too. I'm like,
Can I
I feel like we
address
should
that?
all be friends.
Can I address that?
Sure, go
please?
for it.
It's not Tony's state of mind that matters, Sarah. It's Alex's state of mind. And Alex knew that that was a very precarious situation that he was going to be caught on because articles were being
That
written
wasn't the
about that
ruling,
case.
Eric.
He
That
was
wasn't the ruling.
Hey, Sarah, let me speak, okay?
Yeah.
You've sent some negative tweets about the judge in this case. This judge made a proper ruling. I know you want a very neat causation of what was the reason for murder, but sometimes the reasons aren't neat. They may have been perfect for Alex, but to us, they seem imperfect reasons. But Alex felt that the walls were closing in on him. And the first thing he did was reach out to Tony Satterfield to tell him a lie so that he could be appeased because there were articles being written that Alex couldn't control.
Okay, I want to get to Mark because something else interesting happened today. Mark, we learned that the Murdaugh's maid testified that she actually cleaned the house the day after the murders, and that she was apparently asked by Alec to clean the house and also clean some of his clothes. I mean, first of all, isn't that contaminating the crime scene? Second of all, like, how did the police let that happen, Mark?
Well, you know, if there's innocent explanations, the prosecution never goes there. I mean, the most innocent explanation is his wife and his son were brutally murdered. If you presume that he's innocent, he knows he's going to have people come pay their respects, is what happens in most households, and he asked that the house be cleaned up because that's the way his wife would have wanted it. Is that consistent with an innocent explanation? I would say so. By the way, I don't know that the prosecution, and I believe they're getting ready to rest, I don't know that anybody has suggested that the crime scene was in the house. If they had if Alex had asked to go down to the dog kennel or go down to the scene where my wife and my son were murdered and clean that up, I'd say, wow, that's some powerful prosecution evidence. But once again, we're in this kind of Alice in Wonderland zone where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where any of the evidence is. All we do is we throw stuff up. We say stuff like, oh, he was getting desperate, so therefore he lied to this person about his theft. But wait a second, we're not on trial for theft, we're on trial for murder. It doesn't matter because it goes to his state of mind and he was desperate. So he was desperate about a guy, and what he did is he went home and he killed his wife and his son. I mean, none of this makes sense, and you can always explain it away by saying, oh, it's not logical, it's not rational, it doesn't make any sense to us human beings, but somehow it makes sense to this other human being. I mean, it's really, at a certain point, it really has stretched any kind of reasonable imagination, and it's just people trying to fit facts which have nothing to do with anything into a situation or a narrative that literally doesn't explain anything.
Yeah, we've got a long way to go. I mean, I was looking at the calendar today. They're thinking this could go a couple more weeks. So we'll be covering it every night. Again, I enjoy watching you guys at night. Mark Aragos, Sarah Azari and Eric Bland, thank you all for coming with us on a Friday night.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, coming up next, planning on sending your kids to Mexico for spring break? Well, you might want to think again because the drug cartels are taking over what you think are safe resorts and they could be putting your kids' life at risk. We're going to talk about it.
Monday, Chris.
Question: are we wanting to watch stuff about the drug cartels or continue on? Before I hit play.
$50 will buy a nice hat. Get approved or get 50.
Many of you are making.
I'm gonna pause that, see what you guys say. What do y'all want to do? Do y'all want to watch this? I'll just play it till y'all tell me.
Send your kids to Mexico for some fun in the sun, but this is really a warning you can't afford to miss. The drug cartels have not just infiltrated America, but they're taking over what we think are safe Mexican resorts, and your kids' lives could actually be
move on
danger.
Insta,
the US
so we're
State
gonna keep
Department
going.
has given its strongest possible do not travel warnings. Joining us now, Robert.
Do you have my big easy reach lighter?
I don't care about Super Bowl ads. And we're talking about Ukraine. So that's it for this tonight. Alexa, turn on theater. I'll turn you guys around. We haven't done Banfield yet. We can possibly do Banfield if that's what we choose to do. So if you want to rewatch that entire thing, that is on. Let me turn this around real quick. So that was on News Nation for anybody that wanted to watch that. But I've also been can't afford to miss it. Well, we moved on, guys. So anyways, you can go to YouTube and you can watch that if you want to see what we just watched, if that's what you're asking. If you're talking about the trial for Murdoch, then you can watch it on, the multitude of sources. So that was Brian. We did not do Banfield yet. We don't have to do Banfield. I don't know what's on Banfield tonight. I haven't been there yet. But I felt that Brian Entin hosting was valuable, so I recorded it. So that's what we did. So, yeah, anyways. So I want to talk about the bullying thing a little bit more. In fact, I'm almost tempted to log off of YouTube and come back on so it creates a completely new live that gets recorded, because I think that this topic is so important that I almost don't want people to miss it because we were all the way through. So I might actually do that. So we're talking about a bunch of things tonight, but the one I'm going to start with in a second is the girl who was bullied, Adriana Cush. So I might do that if y'all are okay with that. Banfield's going to cover a lot of stuff on Idaho. Do we know that for sure? All right, we can go ahead and knock out Banfield, then we'll come do it. Okay, we'll knock out Banfield first. We can do that. Let me see what Banfield's going to be then. She's covering Idaho. Okay, we'll go do Banfield then. We're going to watch Banfield, guys. And the TikTok people are missing out. So let me turn y'all back around then. I don't think there's much to talk about with Utah. Nothing's really happened with Utah, but here, you know what? I think I'm just going to go to, because there's only 12 people in here. I think I'm just going to do YouTube exclusively. I think that's probably the best thing to do. So yeah, if you want to jump over to YouTube, that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And I'll get off here because there's only 12 people in here. If you're in Idaho, I think that's what Banfield's going to talk about. So I'm going to go, Alexa, turn off theater. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off Insta and go to YouTube. It's, for those of y'all who are just coming in here, it's Justin on TikTok is my YouTube, and we will see you guys over there. And I'll give y'all like a couple minutes or a couple seconds to like jump over. All right. So give them a second to walk over, then we'll do Banfield, and then I'm going to cut the live and then come back on after Banfield.
Community, Moscow, Idaho. It's not like there are a lot of public defenders and criminal defense lawyers there. And so when you have a small pool, you may have a situation like this where someone switches only to have it overturned on appeal, then to start over, and it's not good for victims' families either.
You're talking my language now.
There we
Because
go.
we're the taxpayers, right?
There we go.
I've spoken to criminologists about this. They don't teach you how to commit the perfect crime. They teach you how to understand why.
Well, that it is Friday because it has been a week long, news breaking every night, so many details, and tonight, no different. Big exclusive tonight. Something we did not know about, and up until now, no one knew about, but it is something that if it proves to be fruitful, if it proves to be useful, it could prove that Brian Kohberger was in the house on the night of the murders in Idaho. And why do I say that? I know that we now know, and if you were just watching Dan Abrams' show, that you will know. There was a knife sheath found next to two of the victims on that third floor, Maddie Mogen's room, where Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogen were found dead. Knife sheath had Brian Kohberger's DNA, according to the police. Well, that, you would think, puts him in that room and in that house, unless the defense can do something OJ style to just get rid of that little piece of evidence. And then what do you have? What do you have that puts Brian Kohberger in that house? Don't tell me you have his car driving around, because how do you know it's him driving it? That's what the defense will say, okay? Don't tell me you have his cell phone, because unfortunately, while it looks kind of hinky, the cell phone, I think, leaves about 2:47 a.m., driving around Pullman, 2:47 a.m., and then goes dark. No more cell phone signal. Doesn't ping any towers, mysteriously in a window in which the murders occur. But then suddenly that cell phone starts pinging again at 4:48 a.m. Oh goodness, just south of Moscow. Is that good enough though to put him in that house, inside that house? Because there is something else that just might. We have a source close to the investigation that has told us actually police got their hands on a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker that was in one of the bedrooms of the murder victims. And the Bluetooth speaker may just have reached out to a cell phone if Brian Kohberger had carried that cell phone into the house. There is so much I need to tell you about this before you start beaking off and telling me why this won't work, why there's no way, forget it, no way, Okay. Let me just tell you this, for starters, that Bluetooth speaker, police discovered in the room of Kaylee Gonzalez. That's on the third floor. Kaylee and Maddie were found in Maddie Mogen's room, 50 feet away. Kaylee's dog, on the other hand, Murphy, was put into Kaylee's room, most likely by the killer, and closed into that room and discovered there by the police. So our source, who has intimate knowledge of this investigation, told us about this Bluetooth speaker. And if you do some of the digital math, if Brian Kohberger took his phone into that house, and he very well may have, if he's the killer, he may have thought himself so darn clever that just putting it on airplane mode would mask everything, shut off every single digital piece of footprint. It's on airplane mode. Nobody can see me now. Unless, of course, it reached out to a Bluetooth device, if there were a Bluetooth device nearby, which now we know there was. So I've got a lot of reporting on that, and I've got an expert who's going to walk you through all the steps of why that may or may not work, but the key here is may. It just may. So that's just one more critical piece of a prosecution's case. Because if you lose one, and you only have one, you may lose it all. Bloody glove. If it don't fit, you must acquit. All sorts of stuff like that happens in a case. The most critical piece of evidence can be denigrated, and a jury can be convinced, maybe not reasonably, but they can be convinced that it's not good evidence. So the more the merrier, you might say. A couple of things that you should know as well. There's something called a handshake that devices actually give out. And when you put your device on airplane mode, it doesn't mean you can't connect to Bluetooth. You're not going to reach out to the Wi-Fi. You're not going to reach out to the cell towers, but you can reach out to Bluetooth, and you might not even know it's happening. So if Kohberger were driving around in that Elantra, switching it to airplane mode as he got out of Pullman, and felt as though it was still in airplane mode as he pulled into Moscow, and still in airplane mode, perhaps in his hip pocket as he walked into that house, we got news for you. There's action. Those things actually don't stay dormant. And here's something critical. Early in this investigation, in the first, week plus, when we were still getting public news conferences, the Northwest Public Broadcasting reporter named Lauren Patterson was sitting in the press corps, and she asked a question of the authorities who were conducting the news conference. And man, oh man, did that girl have insight to ask a clever question. Have a look.
Curious if the Wi-Fi hotspot has been tapped at all. It's possible if the suspect had their phone on them, it may have pinged off the Wi-Fi in the residence. Has that been checked on at all?
As I stated, our investigation is looking at every avenue of every piece of evidence that we can.
Every avenue of every piece of evidence. Okay, I get it. You're not going to say it there. And they didn't say it for 4 months. But now we know. Source close to the investigation saying a Bluetooth speaker was discovered by the police in Kaylee's room. I want to bring in our senior national correspondent, Brian Entin, on this. Brian, there's so little that we know about the actual investigative pieces inside the house. We have the affidavits, we have a brief narrative, like a little tippy top of the mountain, right? Affidavits are giant. There's so much that could be in them, but the probable cause doesn't have to be, right? You can just give enough to get an arrest. You don't have to give the whole narrative. That's for trial. That's for later. So the fact that we know that there's this device mere feet from where these girls were killed, from where that killer walked, and probably even closer because that's where Murphy was closed in. It's a significant piece of the puzzle.
It is. It's really interesting, Ashley. I've been hanging on your every word. And it's interesting, while you were explaining it all, I pulled my phone out, and because I thought to myself when you first started talking about it, I'm like, oh, you just put your phone on airplane mode. He probably did that, allegedly, because police say that he did that in other instances with his phone. So I put my phone on airplane mode sitting right here, and I'm no expert, but I noticed the Bluetooth stayed on. The Bluetooth stayed on, which made sense because when I go on the plane and I put my phone on airplane mode, I can still use my AirPods. So yes, this could be really, really significant. And you make a good point. I mean, just because it's not in any of the paperwork we've seen so far, they only really had to put the bare minimum in some of that paperwork. And the FBI was out there. We saw them every day. And they would be the ones probably going and trying to match up some of these devices. So it's really interesting.
So here's the thing. We now know for sure that Kaylee had a Bluetooth speaker in her room. But we can also surmise, because these are students, these are university students, they've got laptops and printers and keyboards and mouses, and many of those are also Bluetooth devices. But that's just the tip of the iceberg too. There's so many more things in a home that could be Bluetooth friendly to a handshake.
Yeah, if you think about your own house, I mean, there's a ton of things with Bluetooth. We have a list we're going to go through and show you. Pull it up here. I have it on my phone. I wrote them out. AirPods, keyboards, computer mice, wireless headsets, laptops, iPads, tablets, Kindles, computer printers, smartphones, of course, because they have AirDrop, Apple Watches, TVs, speakers, cable boxes, video game controllers, washers, dryers, refrigerators. I mean, if you've got one of these souped up new appliances, they've even got Bluetooth, and even air conditioners and purifiers. So it might not just be the Bluetooth speaker. I mean, you've confirmed the Bluetooth speaker, Ashley, but there may be way more.
There could be. And the issue, I think, is for so many of us, especially people over a certain age, is that you actually don't remember what you leave enabled and what you don't. And there are, certain settings on Bluetooth, like you just said, you flicked it on and it was on, and you may not even have remembered. And that's a key piece of this. It has to be on, but how do we remember out of the dozens of things in our homes, what we've left on and what we've turned off?
Yeah, and can you imagine if they connect Kohberger, if his phone connected to several of these devices? I mean, that would be huge.
It would be huge, and I want to get into the nitty-gritty of how it works and how it doesn't work sometimes, because there could be a negative side of this. So Brian Entin, thank you on a Friday night. Look at you doing this for us. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, Ashley.
So when I said I want to get into the nitty-gritty, that's Clark Walton's space. He is a principal forensics and cybersecurity expert for Reliance Forensics. He's board certified in data security. He's a former cybersecurity analyst for the CIA. He's also a former prosecuting attorney. Mwah, chef's kiss. You are perfect, Clark, for this. Look, get me sort of on and off the ledge on this, because I always want to know that there's lots of evidence. If you're going to bring a guy in, charge him with quadruple murder, I want to know that there's lots of really good evidence. This would seem like it would put a guy right in the room alongside the DNA on the knife sheath. But why might it not work? Let's just look at the other side. Why might this not work?
Right. So your phone, as you know, when you're walking around with it, it is trying to talk to the rest of the world any number of ways, right? Bluetooth and your cellular antenna and near field communication. But it doesn't necessarily mean that those attempted handshakes that you just referenced are necessarily being recorded. Not every single action that your phone takes is necessarily going to stick with that phone. If a forensic examiner were to look at it days, weeks, months later, yes, that handshake could have occurred, but is there going to be a record of it on the device that a forensic examiner can pull back?
Okay, so let me take that one step further, and I'm going to just be full disclosure here. I am a complete idiot when it comes to this stuff. I have to hit all the buttons 100 times and then reset just to get something to work. But I do know this, my phone is connected to my Bluetooth speaker, and my phone knows when I go from portrait to landscape, and it keeps that as a record, as I learned in the Murdoch trial. What if Kaylee's speaker was connected to her phone? Because presumably they're all up on the 3rd floor, right? You're going to have your phone upstairs when you go to bed, even if you're 50 feet away in the other bedroom. Will that perhaps keep a record?
That would keep a record. And so have you ever noticed, you'll spend a night in a hotel and you'll not come back to that hotel for months, and then you'll go back to that hotel and it will automatically connect your phone back to Wi-Fi like you've been there the day before. Your iPhone does keep a record of what Wi-Fi networks you've connected to, certain information about those networks, the name, the password, the last date and time, importantly, potentially for this case, the last date and time that phone was connected to that Wi-Fi network. And the same works for Bluetooth as well. It keeps a listing of Bluetooth assets that you have connected to at a certain point in the past in time. So let's say hypothetically, at some point in the past, Koberger's phone had initiated or completed a handshake with really any other device in proximity to that house, coming back in close proximity to that house, even if the phone were in airplane mode, as was pointed out, that Bluetooth connection may likely still be enabled, and that handshake could occur. That evidence would stay on the phone, and that's something that a forensic examiner could later take and say, yes, this phone was within Bluetooth communication of this speaker, this microwave, this thermostat, that type of thing at this point in time.
This is probably a yes or no, but if the speaker is turned off, does it still emit a Bluetooth signal, or is off when it comes to
off is off? Off is off.
Okay. How about the car? Let's talk about this 2015 Elantra. Some people have said they don't have the infotainment system. Some people have said they do. So maybe it's kind of, haphazard on the 2015. But if Koberger gets into his Elantra with his phone, right? Because he's driving. We already know he had his phone with him because well, at least according to the authorities, he is driving out of Pullman or around, Pullman at 2:48, 2:47, I think I said the time was. Look, 2:47 a.m. And then he, hauls back in and is back online. He basically turns the phone back on or does whatever at 4:48 a.m. If he's in that car, is it going to handshake him to the car? Because right now we know an Elantra that belongs to him was at the murder scene, and a defense attorney will say, who was driving? Did you see him behind the wheel? But if his phone connected to his Bluetooth and went to the murder scene, now that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah, there may very likely be a record of that. I mean, the data that I've seen in the public record is based of where he was is based on the cell tower pinging, the location, which is much less accurate and much more, covers a greater area than the Bluetooth communication. Obviously, you have to be much closer to a device to ping off of that with your phone. And there were records of that kept in the device, in the phone. Sorry, I'm looking down at my iPhone here, I guess expecting it to do something. But yes, I mean, we have seen we've worked other types of cases, other types of homicides, cases where car accident cases, a lot of times you'll see a Bluetooth was activated and started playing music or something like that. And then a car accident occurs moments later. I mean, that's a fairly common thing to see.
It fascinates me to think that somebody could think, well, I'm just going to turn my phone off and I'll go dark. But that phone stayed more than likely light if it were connected to the car. And then that car continued on its merry way. So the footprint would continue even though the cell towers lost him. All of this allegations, he has the right to remain innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But man, this evidence, it's pretty fascinating stuff. Hey, Clark, thank you for this. I said you were the right person and I was right. Will you come back again?
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Happy weekend to you. After the break, we've got a little bit more new and exclusive reporting from the house on King Road. In the hours just after the murders, the first responders who got to the scene did something, or should I say, may have failed to do something. And it might be creating some problems for the prosecutors when it comes to the evidence. I'll explain it all in just a moment.
Forward.
Early in the situation, it can be a little frantic, it can be a little chaotic, and there can be survivors, people who are injured, people who need saving. There can also be bad guys still lurking either in the crime scene or around the crime scene. And for that reason, there are priorities. Priority is we got to make sure people are safe. We got to get people out of there. We got to make sure someone isn't going to be further harmed, hurt, or die. Priority one. Priority two is we got to catch the guy, right? Priority three is preserve the evidence. That's just the way it goes. And that should be the way it goes, right? You got to save people first. And then you got to catch the guy second to save more people. And then you got to make sure if you don't have the guy, you eventually get the guy and you keep the guy behind bars, preserving the evidence. So with that said, I got a little bit more exclusive reporting I want to give your way. It's important you have that context. And again, this comes from sources close to the investigation, that the first responders who responded to 1122 King Road on that horrible overnight morning incident in November 13th, they were not wearing protective footwear, booties, right? Probably normal. If you think about what first responders do, they save lives. They don't go in to investigate crime scenes. They go in to save lives. And they're in a hurry. And evidence gathering and preservation is not their bailiwick. It just isn't. They save lives. And so when the first responders, according to our sourcing, got to the house, they encountered a chaotic situation and were unclear as to exactly who might be still alive or whether there was a danger still lurking, and they went in fast. And for that reason, they tracked snow melting chemicals in from the driveway and parking lot into the home, and thereby potentially disrupted the retrieval of footprint evidence. So I want to bring in Larry Kublinski, who is a forensic scientist, professor emeritus of forensic science at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and one of the smartest guys I work with on a typical day in this business. Okay, Doc, so this is not uncommon. As sad and frustrating as it feels, this is kind of Tuesday in crime fighting and the processing of a scene, isn't it?
Absolutely. Actually, you explained it very, very clearly and very well. The first responders are usually police officers or firefighters or EMTs, and they're trained to save lives, to protect the living, and to make sure that if people need medical help, they get it. They're not trained to do crime scene work. They don't come with the paraphernalia that crime scene people have, like the booties that you described, the head protection, the gloves that they wear. or the Tyvek protective outfits that crime scene people use. So they're not really there to, to do crime scene work. However, the first responder is really supposed to cordon off the scene and protect it from unauthorized entry. Now, this is a big problem of people that go into a crime scene because they're police officers, they're high-level administrators, they want to see what's going on, they're curious. And the fact of the matter is, the more people you have in the scene, the more likely you're going to have contamination. Not just from the first responders, but from people that work in the police department or people in the press. Everybody wants to know what's going on. So in fact, you limit the number of people that go into a crime scene. You document who goes in, who goes out, and the timing for these events that take place. And the most important thing is that the first responders notify the people that have to be there to do the investigation, the evidence collection team, the detectives, maybe the district attorney. That is really the job of a first responder. Once the evidence collection team comes in, they know how to do it right. Of course, they sometimes are confronted, as you pointed out, with contaminated evidence.
But it's par for the course in this business. You just can't have a frantic scene without people making sure lives are saved first, and maybe there is a footprint that isn't perfect or is gone, or maybe there are these melting chemicals that tracked into the house. But they did say they've got one latent footprint that was discovered with a blood sourcing chemical compound. So Larry Koplinsky, thank you. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, my friend.
And you too. Take care, Ashley.
Good to see you. Thank you. You too, Larry. Coming up, did Brian Kohberger's rights outweigh the victims of the victims' families' rights? The lawyers are fighting it out as we speak, and they've just filed a bit of a flurry of paperwork with the Idaho court system, and the judge is weighing in too. We're going to tell you what was said, why this is significant, and why it really matters next.
3 nights, ESG.
Diversification, futures, options, excess cash flow.
Gold.
The world is full of financial noise.
You're right on track to hit your goals.
Our Easy Reads investing app and in 3 seconds, 15 couples will share a perfect moment.
Oh, wow. But we gotta sell our houses.
Well, almost perfect.
My place is too small, your place is too far. Selling them means repairs, listings, cleanings. What's the market even like?
You feel like you've missed a lot and you want to go back and watch it, it's also being streamed on YouTube, and YouTube allows you to rewind. So you can go back and see stuff.
Request a cash offer at opendoor.com.
A diaper this leak-free sets them free. Only Pampers Cruisers 360 have a 360 stretchy waistband for up to 100% leak-free fit on every wild child. Pampers Cruisers 360. Live wild and free. Wild and free.
Oh, y'all who follow it are just frustrated by the gag order. But it's in place because both the prosecutor and the defense attorney believe that if there's too much information out there, Mr. Brian Kohberger is going to have a poisoned jury pool, and no one's going to be able to be fair and impartial. I don't always agree with that because I did OJ and I did Jody and I did Casey, and you can always find a jury. It makes it a little more hard though, and sometimes more expensive. So that might be the mission here. But speedy and public trial by an impartial jury. So with the back and forth, some paperwork got filed just in the last 48 hours. Where they have fought against the family of Steve Gonzalez and his attorney, Shannon Gray. They were trying to modify the gag order. And they have both said, prosecutor and defense attorney, no, don't want to do that. They just don't. They said if Mr. Gray truly intends only to voice his client's thoughts and opinions, then the court's previous exemption has already cured the supposed First Amendment infirmity. Mr. Gray's clients may voice these thoughts and opinions themselves, as they have clearly been doing, which means that the families can talk if they want to, but their lawyers can't. That's what that means. So I want to bring in Dave Ehrenberg, because he's a state prosecutor in Palm Beach County, and he gets it. He doesn't have to keep the copy in his desk drawer because it's in his head at all time. He passed the bar. I didn't. I never took it. I am always struggling with this one, Dave. The first versus the sixth. I think we don't try and maybe execute people in secret. That's my biggest thing. I spent a lot of time in Iraq and Syria and Saudi and you name it. And I love where we live for that reason. How do you balance it?
Well, good evening, Ashley. And even though I did pass the bar, do you know what I always have nearby? A copy of the Constitution.
Oh, I feel so much better now.
Yeah, you inspired me to reach for it. So yes, the Sixth Amendment, which ensures the right to a fair trial and impartial jury, a right to counsel. And in fact, actually, little constitutional lesson. Do you know who's not mentioned in the U.S. Constitution? Victims of crime. They are not mentioned anywhere in the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution speaks quite frequently about defendants and suspects, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, but not one word about victims. And so you can see why the court will bend over backwards to ensure that this defendant gets a fair trial. And that means let's limit the pretrial publicity because that could taint the jury pool. And now you may be wondering, why are the prosecutors agreeing with the defense lawyers? Because the worst thing in the world for prosecutors is to have to do it all over again, to get a conviction only to have it overturned on appeal, then to start over, and it's not good for victims' families.
You're talking my language now, because we're the taxpayers, right? We don't want to pay to have to convict a guy a second time because there was a dumb mistake made, or there was an appellate issue that maybe run it all the way to Supreme Court if you want. So I get that. So then why isn't the same level of scrutiny being paid to the conflict issue? I say that because this has not been small news. Ann Taylor, who is the public defender in this case, represented the mother of one of the victims and potentially two of the parents of another victim. So why isn't the same aggressive, stance being taken towards this conflict issue? And while I say that, I want to let you know that today a petition was started, a change.org petition was launched to have, Ann Taylor removed as public defender because of the conflict issue. They wanted to make up to, I think, 200 signatories, and they've blown past it. It's like 824 right now. So tell me, are we about to see the attention shifted from this gag issue to now the conflict issue?
Ashley, I don't think so. And the reason is that we're dealing with a very small community, Moscow, Idaho. It's not like there are a lot of public defenders and criminal defense lawyers there. And so when you have a small pool, you may have a situation like this where someone switches sides, essentially. Now, look, she was representing a victim's family, and now she's switching to represent the defendant here. In a small community, that can happen as long as the judge says it's okay. It doesn't look good, obviously, but I think the judge is probably going to allow it.
Dave, okay, we just heard in the paperwork filed this week for the gag purposes that they may consider putting the families on the gag because the families may end up being witnesses. Now let's go back over to conflict. Okay, that was gag. Now let's go to conflict. If the families are witnesses, how the hell could she cross-examine one of them if she once represented them?
Well, that would look like a conflict, right? Ashley, now
you think?
Right, but I think it's rare. It's rare to call the victim's family as a witness. I know that the prosecution says we may call them as a witness in the trial or at sentencing. It's a certainty at sentencing. I don't see how they're going to be called as witnesses at trial unless their daughter told them something, perhaps that, hey, there's this guy with bushy eyebrows who's stalking me online. That would make him a witness. But
Well,
I
okay,
just think
hold it. Long ago, I heard Steve Gonsalves say, I got only 10 seconds left, but I heard Steve Gonsalves say that Kaylee had said she had warned that she'd been stalked. And so there you go, right there.
that could make them a witness, and that would create more of a conflict, and that could get that defense lawyers bounced off the case by the judge. So yes, if.
You're so smart. I wish I'd been in law school with you. Guess what? As we've been talking, it turns out a lot of people who are watching agree with us. Well, at least agree with me about that because they've gone and signed the petition. It's almost at 1,000 now, I think. Can I get the actual number? I can't see it very clearly. Is it 1,000? It's somewhere. It's just shy of 1,000, still loading on the second refresh. But yeah, so a lot of people feel that way too. Dave Ehrenberg, thank you. I look forward to our next conversation. And thank you for not making me feel like such an idiot for having to make the reference all the time. And that we're both like equally nerdy.
Nerds rule. Thank you.
I love it. Okay. So it's been 3 full weeks if you're counting in the Murdaugh murder trial. And boy, were they full. I want to know something. What do you think about all that cell phone video that seems to put Murdaugh at the murder scene? What's the deal with the raincoat, the GSR, gunshot residue? How about that Gucci receipt? I know you have theories. Why? Because you sent them in, as is evidenced by this one.
We're caught up. I can't fast forward anymore.
Well, you see, he enjoys the finer things in life, like his Old Spice Gentleman's Blend Lavender and Mint Body Wash that gives him impossibly smooth skin.
Oh, I see that you enjoy the finer things in life too. Is that lavender I smell?
What?
It's okay. I use this body wash too.
Really? You used all my Old Spice body wash?
What makes you think so?
She did it. Finer things in life too. Is that lavender I smell?
What?
It's okay. I use this body wash too.
Really? You used all my Old Spice body wash?
What makes you think so?
She did it.
Okay, I'm going to give you a really quick update on what happened in the Murdaugh trial today because I really want to get to your thoughts and theories. You guys have sent in some amazing things. So a housekeeper was on the stand today, testified that Maggie was worried before she died about money. She was worried about Alex's truthfulness. And that this is the big one. I think she said, I've never seen Murdaugh's clothes that were seen in that Snapchat video. Because remember, he changed clothes. He's in the Snapchat video, bending the tree back and forth, wearing, a nice button down. And then later he's wearing a t-shirt and shorts. And she said on the stand, I had never seen those clothes again. That's important. Then defense pushed for mistrial in this whole thing because that housekeeper was testifying about private conversations and it was hearsay. And, that you can't unring that bell. And so that was the effort of the defense. But Lori Keeley is one of our 13th jurors out there who decided to send in her thoughts, but I think she might have been too shy to do it on camera, so she just sent this in. She said, whoever posed the bomb threat was hired and paid by Alex Murdaugh himself. That came from Lori Keeley, but I showed you a little bit of Pam Glasscock from Snyder, Texas, right before the break. I want you to hear the rest of what her theory is, so take a listen.
I do believe there are some people that is close to Alec that is in the courtroom that is showing really no emotion. I do believe that he had help in the murders for sure, because someone had to help him dispose of Maggie's phone. He couldn't have done it by himself. And who other than someone very, very close to him that probably had a financial reason to help him and could benefit from it. So I think it's possible that you might know who I'm thinking about, because he could have possibly got this person to help him with no question. And also, when he found out and was confronted by the CFO that morning, he definitely contacted this person for help.
Pam, I don't know. You said you think I know who you're talking about? I have no idea. I could guess maybe Buster, but I don't know who you're talking about. That is a super fascinating idea. Maybe Cousin Eddie. Okay, Lauren Mathias is the host of the podcast Hidden True Crime, and Tony Bruschi is the host of the podcast Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, and they're two of my favorites. So I asked them to join me and help me sort of sort through some of these Friday night theories. Okay, Lauren, I'm going to start with you. Do you know who Pam is referring to?
No, my first thought was Cousin Eddie. I was with you. I was like, I don't know. Oh boy, I'm about to go on live television and I'm not sure who she means, but I went to Cousin Eddie. I mean, Cousin Eddie's like the best person to throw everything on, right? Cousin Eddie.
I gotta say, Tony, I love the part where she said he couldn't have disposed of the cell phone himself. I'm like, wait, he just whip it out the car door as he's driving down the road. That's what I thought.
I think it's one of the easiest things for him to possibly do. I don't know why that would be so difficult. But I don't know who she's talking about either, unless it's the one who was on the stand yesterday, the former best friend, if that's who she might be referring to. But I think the cult of Murdaugh runs far deeper than many of us are aware of. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are other people that are standing to benefit financially in some way, shape, or form still from this circus that we've been seeing.
I love Pam's comment. Pam, thank you. Thank you for, first of all, paying so much attention and then thinking that through. Okay, I got another one. This is Scott Lacey. Scott's from Phoenix and sent us this theory. Have a look.
My theory about Alex Murdaugh is it's always been about the money. He originally tried to cover up the details of Paul's boating accident. Paul's trial was coming up and he would later be sued probably millions civilly. It's been reported that his wife was seeking a divorce and investigating the finances. Been reported that Alex and Maggie probably both were having affairs. Alex would have owed millions on the divorce, or at least a pretty good sizable amount. Knowing how much he worshipped money, cheated his clients out of millions, cheated his housekeeper's family out of insurance money, and finally concocted his own fake attempted shooting of himself, showing creative deceit and know-how. The man is guilty. Would he kill his wife and son? Probably. Probably didn't love his wife anymore, and his son was becoming trouble. It's just if the state can prove it.
Oh, something tells me Scott might be a lawyer, or at least he should have been. He's pretty good at this. Okay, so Tony, money is a massive motivator, right? And it is always a motive. You know, it's a big motive that comes into cases, but it's a little different when you're talking about killing your own kid, because you're not going to get any money out of it. I mean, sympathy isn't going to get you as much money as you are going to be ruined by the loss of your own child and blowing his own brains out. What are your thoughts about the whole money motive?
I think it does play. I think it's more so he needed the money in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if sympathy was necessarily the goal here. It maybe was a side benefit, but if in his mind he was going to get away with it, he wouldn't have been able to get rid of his wife, collect inheritance, which he needed some of that money for all of the financial trouble he was in. And with the boat accident and the upcoming litigation and the possibility of Paul maybe saying some things that don't work out so well into what Alec wanted, I could see there be a motive to get rid of him as well, because it could dig his hole even deeper.
I have a tough one with that. I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle for the jury is, okay, but why take your own son out? We all know about spousal stuff. I mean, that happens all the time, but killing your own child. Okay, so Lauren, I want you to pay close attention to this next one. This is Christine Gowan-Pulhus. I hope I pronounced her name right. Christine is from California, and this is her theory. Take a listen.
Alex was raised in an extremely privileged family. He was entitled. He was also a master manipulator. And I believe the day the CFO approached him, he knew he was busted and his house of cards was about to fall. And perhaps he knew that Maggie had an appointment with the bank to discuss that loan he took out. So he started spinning, how's he going to solve this problem? And a person like that decides to annihilate his family because he believes they're better off dead than knowing what a failure he has become. And a person like that commits familicide. That's when you murder your family in rapid succession. And Alex, being a lifelong hunter, knowing his guns, that day, I believe, in this unassuming kneeling position, took that shotgun and was able to fire it within seconds, killing his son and explaining the upward trajectory of those pellets. He was then able to pick up that rifle, and his wife, hearing the shotgun blast, comes running toward the kennels. And he goes out there, shoots at the ground, which we saw in the evidence photos, and shoots Maggie 5 times. All of that could be done in less than 1 minute.
Okay, a few things I have to note. Christine is probably my favorite, viewer who sent in a theory because she had the props ready to go. And I think they're super soakers. And I think she has 2 boys like I do because I always had a house like exactly with those props. And then the dog. If you have a dog like that in your backdrop, you win hands down. Doesn't matter what you say, you win. But okay, in all honesty, I think she has an interesting theory. What do you think about that? Lauren, do you think theory holds water?
Absolutely. I actually really appreciated her theory and I appreciated the props and explaining it because I'm not a hunter. And I think one of the big things I talk to about people watching this trial with me are, do you think he hired someone? Do you think that there were 2 shooters? Do you think that he did this all on his own and was able to change his clothes and then head off to go, see his mom? That I think is a big question that people want to understand, that the jury's going to need to understand too. Before this all comes to a conclusion. So I appreciated that. Okay.
And I appreciated that. I like the, she had the full Magnum PI thing going on. It was great. Okay. And also Pauline Tomlinson wrote in, and I'm just going to quickly tag this up. Could it be a drug cartel member who Alex owed money that he couldn't pay? That's where I fall in. I fall in on the drug cartel thing. I know there's a lot of holes in that too. But both of you, I can't thank you enough. Lauren Mathias, Tony Bruschi, happy Friday night. Thank you for spending time with us. Look forward to the next one.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashley.
And folks, send in your theories because that was great. And I want to hear from a lot more of you. Props encouraged. Still ahead, we have an update in the case against our News Nation reporter, Evan Lambert in Ohio. The governor is now weighing in. And then also we've got an answer to a question that we've all been asking literally since day 1 in the Idaho quadruple murder case. Stay with us.
3 nights, ESG.
Diversification, futures, options,
Leverage.
cash flow.
The world is full of financial noise.
You're right on track to hit your goals.
I'll mute the commercials. If you feel so inclined and want to sign the petition that Ashley Banfield was talking about, it is now the 3rd link down on my link tree. I found it is up to 912 signatures, myself actually being one of them because why the hell not? So if you do want to go sign that, it is in my link tree. Go to my profile on TikTok and you can sign it. 3rd link down. We're just going to mute during the commercials. It's up to 9:15. Yeah, I could add it to a video. That's easy to do. What's the petition for? They came up with change.org. There's a petition to have Ann Taylor removed from the case or from representing Brian Kohberger as a conflict of interest. I don't know if there truly is a conflict of interest or not, but I just signed it because why the hell not? I could just get behind that. We are currently watching Banfield, although as soon as it's over, it's streaming on YouTube as well. But as soon as it's over, I'm going to go exclusively to YouTube to chat about everything tonight. The petition is on the link tree in my profile. How do you find my live on YouTube? My YouTube is also in the link tree. A couple ways. The link tree in my profile. You click on the link that's in there. The second link down will take you straight to my YouTube. It is just at Justin on TikTok. The petition that you guys are asking about, it is to have Ann Taylor removed from representing Brian Kohberger. I probably won't go anywhere. Probably won't do anything because, like somebody said in here a second ago, legally I don't necessarily think there's a conflict of interest, but I just why the hell not? Why not sign it? Why not? It's fun to stir the pot sometimes. I doubt it. I don't think they're going to remove her. I think it's just fun. Like I said, though, as soon as this is over, I'm going to be going. It's on live on YouTube exclusively. If you do, also the nice thing about YouTube is that if you join YouTube, you can actually rewind and watch it. So anything that you missed, you can do. But I'll be going there exclusively right after this. And that is at Justin on TikTok, spelled normal. All right, we're back on. Let me unmute.
The local prosecutor at East Palestine, Ohio, made a very big decision in the case. The case that was filed there on Wednesday against one of my News Nation colleagues, Evan Lambert, dog in the fight. As you are probably aware, Lambert was forcibly arrested after an allegedly disruptive live shot at a news conference that was being held by Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine. He was charged with disorderly conduct and criminal trespass. And while the governor has since said that Lambert in no way interfered with the news conference and that he himself thinks it was, quote, wrong for the authorities to confront him, local law enforcement, he says, quote, has primary jurisdiction. Well, now the prosecution is up to the state because the local prosecutor has punted and sent the case to the state attorney general's office, where a special prosecutor is now going to decide whether and how to proceed. So in the meantime, yes, the Pentagon, the Pentagon is weighing in on all of this. News Nation reporter Kelly Meyer asked that very question at a news conference this afternoon. Take a look.
We emailed you police body camera footage showing a National Guard general in Ohio pushing my colleague and having to be escorted away from him this week. We asked the Ohio National Guard for comment, but do you, as a spokesperson for the Department of Defense, condone such conduct by an officer of the U.S. military against an American journalist?
Yeah, so let me be clear. The answer is no, that's not acceptable behavior. The Secretary of Defense, the Department of Defense absolutely supports, strongly supports a free and independent press.
Okay, there you go. So we're, of course, going to keep you updated on this case every step of the way. But before we sign off tonight for the weekend, I do want to let you know about our exclusive latest reporting on the Idaho murders. We now have learned the identity of the person who called 911 just before noon on that fateful day that the 4 students were killed. We're going to bring you that detail on Monday. In the meantime, have a good weekend and stay tuned for Cuomo.
Well, that's a cliffhanger. Alexa, turn on theater. All right. Turn you guys around here. Hello, everyone. All right. Camera. There we go. Okay. Hey, everyone. Man, that's a way to cliffhang you, right? All right. So, yes, that's exactly what she said. So for everyone on here that I'm looking at right now, I'm going to be jumping over to YouTube exclusively. So if you want to follow me there and then continue on in the conversation, you can do so. It's at Justin on TikTok. Also, if you go to my link tree, it is the second link down once you're in there. So yeah, you can do that. And if you want to sign the petition, you can do that by going to my profile. But yeah, I will be over there. You can also, if you're over there, if you missed anything and you wanted to see anything that you did miss, you can, even though I'm live, you can rewind my live and see it. So we'll see you guys over there. Hello, everyone. So I'm almost tempted to stop and restart this live because of the stuff that I really want to talk about tonight. And I feel like we're an hour and a half in and nobody will ever listen to it. So I'm tempted to do that. I don't know if I'm going to, though, or not. Because I don't know if you all will come back if I do that. But anyways, I'm trying to look at something real quick. So bear with me, guys. Bear with me 1 second. Just checking something real quick. Okay. Oh, thank you, Paige. I appreciate that. I feel like it's very hot in here tonight. So, why are y'all concerned about me? I'm fine. I'm annoyed with TikTok. That is where my snarkiness and frustration comes from. Hey, Max. So I never got to see. Oh, I'm waiting for y'all to decide on what I talked about a second ago. Did you ever end up speaking, like going like live last night, Max? Max tried to go live last night, and I'm not going to call him out, but just as I already have. But we'll just say there's technical difficulties there. Can I edit and post separately? That is beyond my pay grade. I don't know. Justin, am I saying that I am pouting? Yes, Judy, that's exactly what I'm saying. The bully situation does have me down. That as a parent, that really bothers me. It does have me down, and that's what I want to talk about. That's why I'm like so tempted to just sign off tonight, like for right this second, to start a whole different live, just so I can have the discussion on that particular video and people can, I'll tell you in a second, Lars. So I can have that discussion and people can actually see it versus it being an hour and 40 minutes into another live. That's my only thoughts on that. So that's what I'm debating right this second. So Lars, to answer your question, TikTok is very much, as I was kind of talking about this last night. Well, thank you, Christina. Is that they're very inconsistent with their decisions. So I did a video yesterday that got taken down. It was on these white girls in Pennsylvania putting themselves on blackface, saying things along the lines of, know your roots, you're a slave, it's Black History, it's February. And obviously, that I have no idea how to do that, Jill. That's way above my thing, my pay grade there. But anyway, so I put that, but then obviously you guys know that I'm an advocate against that kind of thing. And TikTok took it down. What makes me very frustrated by that is, and I'm not mad at this other creator because I'm glad that this video is getting the awareness that it needs. But Tizient has basically the exact same video. In fact, the first part of my video before I'm talking, I took directly from Tizient. I took it directly from him, like from his page. And His is still up, which is great because, again, it needs awareness, but they take mine down. And so that's where I get very frustrated because there's inconsistencies in the when I appeal. It's just another strike against me, which again just pisses me off. So that's kind of what the deal is. So anyways, that's what I'm saying is I think, though, that's something that obviously we can talk about tonight because I think that that's important. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to sign off this live, and I will be immediately back on within minutes, like probably less than 2 minutes max. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we can talk about this stuff because I want to have this. So if y'all are here, just stay on the page or keep refreshing it. I will be back on by 10:35 at the absolute latest. It's 10:32. I'm just trying to give you all a little bit of time if y'all want to do a bathroom break, and we'll get started. So yeah, we'll talk all about this because I want to talk about everything that's been going on with Moscow. I want to talk about everything that's been going on with Murdoch. I want to talk about this whole situation that happened in New Jersey and the response to it, and that other video that we just referenced, because I think that there's a lot of really important issues going on right now. And also the other balloon, or not balloon, the other object, is he a bigger creator than me? Yes, probably at least double. He's over 1 million followers. I already finished one. So anyways, so yeah, that's what we'll do. We will sign off, and I'll be back on in just, I'm literally going to immediately come back on.